We're going to do some updates from our global leaders. Syngap Research Fund is a U.S. Foundation, but we have really, really great international foundations as well that we are very proud that we partner with. So I'm going to start with Vicky, who is a rock star and just a force of nature. She's done incredible things for the Spanish-speaking community worldwide, but in particular in this country and in South America. And she's going to give you an update on her work.
Thank you, Pavel. I'm going to see the presentation. Should I here or here? Okay. Thank you for all the nomination of the life of the party. I don't know where that come from, especially my husband is here. He doesn't know. So thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here with you all. It's such an honor as well. And also, I want to have more time to talk to all of you and know each other. But I'm really happy to be here. Here's an overview of the Fondo de Investigación Syngap, which is the Hispanic portion of our Syngap Research Fund. I'm really honored to be part of leading this project. And of course, there is Amelia here in the picture because that's the reason why we are here too. Next, should I click somewhere? Okay. So just to overview a little bit for those that don't know about Fondo, our goals are patient engagement, which is the Hispanic families, understand our community needs and challenges to better set our strategies and build trust, creating a network of professionals, getting that network out there, especially in Latin America with physicians, clinicians, specialists, geneticists, education and awareness with our families and also with different stakeholders, promote accessibility of genetic testing and treatment in our region, which is, there are a lot of challenges in that area, and setting the pathway to help Hispanic families participate in research and clinical trials, which is very important, how we can advocate Hispanics to be part of CHOP, and those international families that want to participate, so how we can make that possible to be part and be heard and also participate. And we are, every time we have something that is in Spanish that we can participate, we are really eager to be part of that and our voice to be counted as well. The Hispanic families around, we have around 10% of the Hispanic population from the US, of those SYNGAP1 diagnoses, we have a total of 40 patients diagnosed in Latin America. You can see a huge gap there in comparison to US, UK, and in the world too. There is a lot of lack of diagnosis, and that's something that we want to target in the future as well. We have 14 patients in Argentina, 10 in Colombia, Chile, 8, Mexico 5, Dominican Republic 3, Venezuela 1. We have around 40 patients in Brazil. I have to double check that number. And we have a new family here that is participating, so we hope in the future we also have an organization in Brazil as well. As organizations and nonprofit locations, we have a nonprofit in Colombia already that it was in May of 2023, and there is a friend organization, there is the Argentinians. They have their own organization, not part of Syngap Research Fund, but we work together and closely and collaborate with each other. I'm very proud that that's being signed last month, I believe, right? That you signed the papers for the foundation. Participation, we have done a lot of things. We keep ourselves very busy. I travel a lot, our other volunteers travel as well. So we have been part of the Rare Diseases Congress in Latin America and the Caribbean. This year in March, National Congress of Pediatric Neurology in Mexico as well. We participated and we had a presentation. Thank you, Paulina, for being there too. We also had 2 posters on the EPNS, which is the European Pediatric of Neurology. So we participated talking about our experience in Latin America as a patient organization as well. We were part of Global Genes Equity Health Summit as a speaker in San Diego in September, and I was invited to be part of Bio Patient and Health Advocacy Summit in Washington, D.C. as well. What do we do and we have done in 2023? Just to make it short, we did an amazing second conference, a scientific conference in Spanish that was wonderful. Some of the, actually the presentations that took place yesterday, we had it in Spanish. 2 months ago. So we were very proud of that. More than 12 panelists, everything in Spanish, more than 200 participants, mostly scientifics and clinicians from Latin America, that they were virtually connected, and that's amazing to just give the word of SYNGAP1 and everything else in the region. So hoping that connection, that network, and also is gonna extrapolate on more diagnoses as well. We have over 15 webinars in Spanish. We have a monthly family meetings in Spanish. We have a new podcast in Spanish, Café SYNGAP1. I don't know if Marlena is here. Please stand up. Thank you, Marlena, for this wonderful podcast in Spanish. She's doing a wonderful job, and is the way of, and Paulina as well, because she's behind the scenes too. We also have a blog in Spanish by Terlis. She's from Mexico, and she sent us a Spanish blog every month. I'm very thankful for that content in Spanish, meaningful and respectful to our Hispanic community. And I also forgot a very important one, an initiative that we are working on, that is have a therapist in Spanish. Is a WhatsApp group where the therapists in the different region they are participating, and we want to collaborate as well with the therapist. Okay, to finish out, what we are looking forward for next year, we have an ELI meeting in June 15, 18. The idea is to have something like this, like we are doing here, over there with clinicians. I've been talking to Lat Am and trying to do something together, maybe a dinner. We haven't really figured it out, but that's something that we want to do. Second Congress of Rare Diseases in Latin America and the Caribbean as well. A second family meetup in Colombia as well, that's what we want. And in terms of research, I just had a very exciting meeting today with UPenn and the Jump Start initiative that is is to have a genetic counselor that is going to participate she's bilingual, she's from Mexico, she is the first year of a master's on genetics in UPenn, and the idea is to have her to work with us in a project for 2 years. From that, we're going to get a lot of information as well, and hopefully a paper for that. And Dr. Jimenez research, development of phenotypes, characterization tool, and genetic panel to increase diagnosis in the region. That's something that we're already working on, and in the earliest phases. So the idea is to have a single research fund grant in order to improve diagnosis in the region as well. Of course, collaborating with our amazing organization from Argentina, that they already are doing a patient registry there, which is amazing too, 14 patients already. And I think the hard work that they have done in their country, the idea is to have the same leadership if we have more families, of course, involved in the different countries as well. Latin America is so big, so it's as much as we can do. But thank you so much, everyone, for being here and for listening to me.
Thanks, Vicky. Thank you. Yeah, that's a ton of work, and I think we can tell by the number of people in this room from Latin America and how dedicated they are. Big credit of that to Vicky, and also thank you all for making the trip and doing this hard work in your countries. All right, next we have Katrien and Jess together. So Katrien and Jess are founding members of SRF UK. Oh, is it just Jess? Okay, sorry. Just Jess. She's a founding member of SRF UK, and she's going to give us a quick update. And also, Jess is the one who counts all the SYNGAP patients for the census every single quarter, which is a ton of work. So.
Yeah, it's just pretty much adding things up, so I get a lot more claps than I actually worth. But yeah, so I'm obviously British. Back in 2020, a group of the UK folks, the UK families, and myself got together and said, let's take advantage of all the work that Mike and everyone at SRF UK has done, and reuse a lot of the capabilities. What we've heard already today about website branding, information, the work that Peter's been doing around development, fundraising. No need to recreate that everywhere across the world. Let's just reuse that and focus on what's really needed in these countries, which is local engagement with the patient population and with the researchers. So that's really what we've been aiming for. So although it's my name up here, the most active volunteers are Julie Pender, Jonathan Barrett, Ray Holden, Dawn Callery, Lisa Ewing, and more recently Catherine Hughes has started to become very active in SRF UK. The main centre of research in the UK is the Patrick Wild Centre. So you heard from Alfredo yesterday morning, about the work that he's doing at University of Edinburgh. But there is so much going on there. And so what SRF UK does is try and keep that relationship, just like here works with recruitment, trying to recruit patient population to those studies, both in the UK and here, because a lot of those studies are open to US and actually worldwide participants as well. And as it says up here, there's about 120 patients. So as we know, there's about 1,300 globally. About 400 of those are in the US, but there's a significant amount in the UK and Europe, and we need those patients engaged to gather the data, to get the results, to get closer to clinical trials. That is what we want to see for everybody. Is it this one? This one?
I think there's only one slide.
Oh, there's only one slide. Okay. Okay, I have a few more notes. I'll probably wrap it up, but I have a few more updates from Julie. Thank you, Julie. She couldn't be here today. She started to engage other institutions in the UK. Aston University in the Midlands is quite interested in SYNGAP. They're also building more UK-specific content to support families in the UK. That's going to be up on the website soon. They are fundraising for one of the most significant commitments we have, which is the COB-KIND AAV gene therapy development that's going on in Edinburgh. So they'll be doing more fundraising for that next year. Again, recruitment, and they're going to be adopting the US method that we've implemented here around grant proposal reviews, and making sure that the most quality research that's going to impact these children is actually funded. And I think they've also been quite busy with some of the European collaborations as well. So there's another organization in Germany called Syngap Elternhilfe, which means Syngap Parent Connect, and they've done a lot of great work to raise, to get funding from the EU. I think they've secured about 8 million euros to develop, amongst other things, a EU-wide registry for SYNGAP patients. So while that might be snooze fest for people in the US, it's actually really, really important that we gather all the patients that we have in Europe, and it's global as well. It's open globally, but we've got a rather large population in Europe, so getting all of those patients in a registry is a massive feat. So congratulations to the German organization. So our SRF UK counterparts are very busy collaborating with that consortium as well. And I think Katrien will talk a bit more about that. Okay, thank you.
Katrien is the head of SRF EU and was in the UK before and helped stand up that organization, and now she runs SRF EU, so go ahead.
Thank you. So I was based I'm Dutch originally, and I was based in the UK, and we moved back to Holland when our Syngapian went to school. And I was like, okay, I'm not British, and I don't even live in England anymore. Why am I volunteering for a UK charity? But I love SRF, and I love the work that we do. And so I set up SRF EU about a year and a half ago. I don't have a slide, but it doesn't say much. So I set it up, and the same purpose is to raise money for research in Europe. So we are not actually a European Union organization. We're sort of more geography Europe-wide. We have co-invested in 3 grants. So Michael Courtney and Pekka Postilia, who we heard from yesterday, are 2 of the grants. And as Marta had mentioned, we now have a grant with Dr. Andrada, which we're really happy with. I met her for the first time at a Dravet conference with Vicky when I a year and a half ago, yeah, and I got into conversation with her, and I said, in the Netherlands, quite interesting. We have 50 patients, and half of them are adults, and she couldn't believe it. And so that connection of going to conferences and connecting, I think, the EU, especially with the language barriers that we have there, with the US researchers here, and trying to get sort of more participation, more translation, I think is really important, is one of our key goals. We are sort of a collection of countries with very, very different legal systems and healthcare systems and language, which makes it really difficult. But we're really lucky that there are some really strong, very active patient organizations in Europe. So collaboration with those and trying to coordinate together to get the voice of Europe, which is about 400 patients. I'm looking at Jess to make sure I don't, yeah. So, sort of a good chunk of our patient population coordinated and effectively being able to participate in more research is really important. And so we're part of the wider Syngap Global Network, which Daniela is going to talk to us more about. But yeah, so thanks.
All right, last but not least, one of the very old school original Syngap parents Syngap parent of 2 kids with Syngap. So if you ever think you're having a tough day, she's got 2. The founder of SRF Australia and one of the founders of Syngap Global Network, Danielle.
Thanks, Pavel. Hello, everyone. I didn't see anyone else's slides, so I hope this is all recorded so I can play it back. Because we can say good. And also, I've got some Australian treats. Don't let me forget. I've got Tim Tams and I've got some koalas for the kids. So that's later. Did anyone else bring treats to bribe? No. I don't need to bribe. Okay, so, I live in Australia. I'm from Melbourne. I've got 2 girls. I'm here to talk about Syngap Research Fund Australia, but also Syngap Global Network. But I think before I do, I should tell you a bit about our story. Literally 30 seconds, I don't want to waste too much time. Just to say that our girls are 14 and 12, they're gorgeous, they're at home with their dad, we've got a support team there, but life's tough, so listening to all those stories today, I can relate, and I was in tears like everyone else. So I'm not going to talk too much about my girls because I think I'll end up in tears, so let's stay professional. But I love them to bits, and I do actually. It's at the end of the prezzo. I'll show you. I love them to bits, and that's why I dedicate every spare moment that I have to them, and to your kids as well. Okay, so Syngap Down Under. So there's, firstly, my girls were diagnosed in February of 2016, so I heard Summer say this morning that her son was diagnosed in January of 2016, so I think I saw Summer in that one of the early conferences, probably the first conference in probably the end of 2016. But now there are 37 Australian Syngapians. We've been established since 2016, and back then we were auspiced by the Epilepsy Foundation, which just meant we didn't go to the admin effort of setting up our own foundation. However, we now have. So 2023, just this year, we became a registered charity. There's 2 of us that are on the board. So Sarah in the back there, Sarah Webster, is here as well. And Kelda Ind is active in our group. So you've probably seen Kelda, and there's a few other board members as well, Rebecca and Louise, and my husband Dani. So we've established a grant process and also a Syngap, or a ISC, and I think Syngap, but it's Scientific Advisory Committee. Regular fundraisers, camp draft, we're hoping it's regular, Sarah does that. And then we've got our first marathon that they're raising money for Syngap next year. We secured a grant from the government, and we provided the seed funding for what is now the Praxis ASO. And we also support Professor Scheffer with her natural history study, which she will get off the ground, Mike. It is happening. And we co-founded Syngap Global Network many years ago, in 2018. So here's some pictures of some Australian get-togethers. We've got Brisbane crew in the top left, there's Kelda top right, we've got the Sydney crew bottom left, and then we've got the Melbourne crew bottom right. So if you ever want to visit Australia, have relatives want to visit Australia, we have people in most states. There's also a WA family as well. Western Australia, that is. Okay, that's Aussie. Any questions about Australia? Besides what treats you're going to get? You will get some.
There's one family in New Zealand.
There's a family in New Zealand, but that isn't Australia, for those who don't know. But it is an Australian who lives in New Zealand who's going to come back to us one day. Okay, so Syngap Global Network, we set up before SRF actually, while SRF was going through the I think it was 1 year process, 2 year process of being set up, we actually set up SGN. And you can see those faces there. Mine's not one of them, but you can see those faces there. That was, I think, a paint for rare. There was some strapline, I can't remember it, but they were some of the faces of the group of people that set up SGN. So we thought we needed a group. It's not a fundraiser, it's not a charity, it's literally just a connector of foundations. That's our purpose, to connect foundations together and to connect the patient groups or the patients all over the world. So 17 countries are now involved. The mission of SGN is to act locally by connecting globally, and we've got 1,100 people participating in the Facebook page, so it's that one with the little star. I know when you first you first get your diagnosis for SYNGAP, I know we were first in the first 100 diagnosed, and I still was confused about all the Facebook groups. Now it must be even more confusing. So this Facebook group is the one with the little star. So we're a connected and coordinated global community of driven SYNGAP parents. And I said we don't fundraise, so that's not something we'll ever do, and we just act as a connector. So some of the key components of SGN is the family support group. Splash for SYNGAP we launched in, I think it was 2019, was the first one, but obviously it's an international day, and we want everyone to be using it. I think the ribbon was for SGN first, wasn't it? That was an SGN ribbon, obviously open for everyone to use. One of the key people in SGN is Sebastian. He's a Swiss father, SYNGAP dad, and he set up this DNA decoder. So it's literally, probably no one in this room needs it, but for those who aren't in the room, who didn't see the geneticists outside, I'll circulate these links later on, but it's a URL, and you can put in your SYNGAP mutation and it literally spits out what it means, just as a first step. There's also oodles of content there, so you should go and have a look what's there. Content to circulate to educational institutions or family and friends, and just to break it down, it laymanizes things for people. The other thing is the map. So it's a map of organisations and SYNGAPians. It doesn't have all, is it 1,400 we've got now?
It's voluntary sign-up.
But 1,400 SYNGAPians identified right now?
It's about 13.
Oh, 1,300. So it doesn't have 1,300 on the map. However, I think it's got over half. And you can see all the foundations. These are just the active foundations that are involved right now in Syngap Global Network across the world. I hope my geography is right. I'm not sure I put them all in the right spot. No, I think we're good. Okay, one of the other things that SGN does is research roadmap. So we meet regularly and we just coordinate. Again, we don't fund, but we try and collate and coordinate, and we want to inform people. We need to do this a bit better because, I mean, what you've just seen in the last 2 days is once a year. We want to make sure that we've got this kind of information that goes out to all of our potential investors, family, friends, patients, everyone on a regular basis. So this is something we will get better at. But you can see just the general roadmap. Here's just a list of IPSC lines. This is for us to see what's going on, but also for researchers to see what's happening as well. So just an indication of the candidate discovery, preclinical and clinical trials from the symptomatic treatments and cures. Okay, country pages. You've already heard about the German Foundation's €8 million grant. I just wanted to add to that that the SYNGAP Foundation in Germany, the name I'm too nervous to say, but that one. It's German, I don't speak German. But they actually put together the consortium that won that €8 million. So kudos to them, it was a massive feat. And it started this year, goes for 4 years, 15 partners in a research consortium, researchers from 8 different countries, more than 13 organisations, and 4 rare diseases, of which SYNGAP is one. So you can see that there are other conferences going on around the world, and the ladies have already mentioned a few of them, but I also want to call out Poland. So Beata is here. Is she in the room? No, but Beata is involved in the Polish Foundation. There are a few other people involved in the Polish Foundation. There were conferences in Austria and Germany, in Scotland, Italy. We hold conferences in Australia. We're part of the Genetic Epilepsy Team Australia. We hold them every year. And in obviously Latin America as well. And the regular fundraisers held all over as well. And research is happening, not just in America, but it's happening all over the world in 15 countries. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit about Australia, a little bit about SGN. Just wanted to end on a quick quote. Individually, we are one drop. Together, we are an ocean. I stole the quote. I did not write the quote, but I just want to say it's prudent. And then someone asked for photos. There you go, Lauren. Was it Lauren who asked? No, it was JR. So that's just us. That was when we first got diagnosed on the left. In the middle was just this year, and then on the right is my baby a few years ago, 12 now. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's so important. It's important for fundraising because we can collaborate together to fund grants. It's important for pharmaceutical companies to see that the community globally is aligned. We can help recruit in different jurisdictions. There are regulatory issues in some countries, and pharmas want to be flexible around where they run clinical trials. So being able to run a clinical trial in Australia or South America or the UK is really important, and this helps us do this and makes us more attractive to pharma companies to develop treatments. And also it helps us be more helpful to the global community. There are crises happening in different countries. There's been a lot of crises in Europe and other places lately. We had a family that had to flee Ukraine last year and relocated to Poland. And the Polish Foundation really helped get that family resettled and helped them start a new life, and they live in Poland now. So I think we all have a responsibility to help the global SYNGAP community, and this is a mechanism for us to do that. Thank you.